You're not bad at fishing a frog. You just haven't watched this video yet and started applying the tips. Hundreds of comments in social media say that they're bad at fishing a hollow body frog. I am not a pro by any means, but I am a topwater enthusiast. So today we're going to break down some tips and tricks of finding key features in a good hollow body frog, where to fish specific styles of frogs, and then the execution phase of actually landing a fish once you see that big blow up that everybody looks for when fishing these style lures. So when it comes to a hollow body frog, there are obviously poppers, there are skirted frogs, there are bladed frogs, there are a whole bunch of different frogs on the market. So which ones do you go with? Well, that's all going to be fishery dependent, and we'll cover that next, but we're going to talk about features of a hollow body frog that are universal to every type that you're going to select. Right off the gate, the first feature I look for when buying a frog is my hooks in the hook angle, because in the packaging you can see if the hooks are aligned properly. And what I mean by that is when you look at this frog here, if you see how the hooks are slanted up towards the top of the hollow body frog and they're not sitting flush on top, that's going to tell me when this body collapses, these hooks are going to be exposed right out the gate, and you're generally going to get a better hookup ratio. So hook styles and fitment on the frog are also super important, and these are things that you can spot right in the packaging. If you see how the hooks are more centered to the rear and they're not up top high on the body, that means even if the fish is short striking a bit, these hooks are still going to snag it. And also with the hooks, how they hug the body. You see how it's not constricting on that body there, pushing in on it. Doesn't look like they're too small. That is going to promote a lot of stabbing when the fish goes to bite. If that hook is touching in the body too hard, you might hook set the frog and not the fish. So those are visuals we can see in the package. Store, you pick the package up, you can look, hook angle is proper, the hooks are to the rear of the frog, and they seem to fit right. But here's some things that you can't investigate until you actually open the package. So the style plastic of a hollow body frog is extremely important. There are some tips and tricks to get it proper, but what we're going to talk about now is softness. So you can't obviously feel these frogs, but the body is soft enough to collapse and expose those hooks extremely easy. Now, this is a different material than most frogs are made, but again, we're looking for a soft collapsing frog that's not too malleable that this frog is going to slide down the shank and get snagged in your vegetation if you're fishing spatterdock, heavy timber, or buckbrush. So if you do happen to buy a hollow body frog that is a little too stiff, there are some things you can do, and I would research the manufacturer first before you do it. You can boil your frogs. Now, I don't boil them. Our frogs are good out of the box, extremely soft, yet durable, good hook gap. I would search on YouTube how to boil your frogs to get the right timing, because I don't want to mess your guys' frogs up if I tell you the wrong time. So if you have a stiffer frog and you've done boiled it and the hooks are not at a 45-degree angle, you can bend those hooks up. I would not recommend doing that with the silver cast style hooks. They will snap as opposed to a forged style hook that bend easier and don't break. All right, so to recap, because we talked about a good amount of stuff, what are we looking for? We're looking for properly angled hooks. Body softness is good enough to go through cover, yet thin enough for a fish to collapse it easy to expose these hooks. And the next part is your weighting. How a frog sits on top of the water, angling those hooks. So some frogs are externally weighted like ours. Those are glued in. And the reason I prefer that, even if the weight eventually falls off, is it keeps that weight in the back, so it's angled at a 45-degree sticking out of the water. But more importantly, having your weight external gives you extra hook gap because you don't have that weight inside of the frog. So I've seen a ton of frogs on the market, and make sure you're collapsing your frogs before you throw them, that when you collapse your hollow body, the weight is preventing the barbs from exposing themselves. So what's going to happen is you're going to hook set a fish. It's going to penetrate the fish's mouth, but it's not going to pass the barbs. So you will be fighting the fish and you'll eventually lose it. And there's nothing you can do about that if there is a hard lead weight in there preventing it from collapsing. So that's why I always recommend squeeze your frogs. Check the hook gap. If you've seen any of my videos, I always go like this to show you guys there's a good 3/4 inches, almost an inch of hook gap to stick the fish on top of the mouth. So how our frogs sit on top of the water is extremely important, but it's dependent on the style of frog. If I'm fishing a skirted frog, I want it to be angled so that nose sticks up and I can pull it over cover. And those hook tips are going to be right on water level line. So when that fish comes up and eats the bait, it's instantly grabbing hooks and sticking. So how do you fix the weighting of a frog that sits flat? Well, there's a lot of things that play into the weight and buoyancy of your frog. Skirt material is one of them. So I like to trim my skirt material down pretty low because you can get up to an extra gram of weight with wet skirt material on the back of a frog if it's long, 3 to 4 inches like some of them are. Now for big box brand frogs, that will sometimes put the angle proper, so don't trim your skirts because it will lift that butt up and it'll put it in the wrong position for when the fish strikes. We've talked about our hook angle. We've talked about our weighting relative to the water line. We've talked about our hook gap. And we've talked about our softness of our frogs. So now that we've picked our frog of choice, we need to suck less at fishing it, so we have to go on the water. I'm not obviously fishing right now, so I've dubbed in some clips later on here showing the techniques and the style of fisheries that I prefer to fish and how we apply these tips. So I like to fish a popping frog, obviously in open water. I fish these a lot near timber and structure off bank and right off bank, and I fish these in very sparse hydrilla mats. And the reason I do that is because I can get these fast pops for some disruption or really hard chugs and leave the lure there, maximum noise in a small strike zone in between these pockets. Now a standard skirted frog like our B2, I fish this pretty much religiously everywhere. This is I can cast it far, I can work it on grass mats. It's heavier, coming in at 14 grams, so it's gonna imprint that grass a little bit harder and show the fish a trail a little bit easier than some of the lighter frogs are. It also has a pointed nose and a flat bottom, so I can slap that nose in open water and walk the dog back and forth. A standard skirted frog will work everywhere. It's just the cadence in which you fish it, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about now. Frog cadence, for me, again, disclaimer, I fish a frog very quickly. I fish a frog very, very fast, and there is a reason for that. I'm probably wrong, but in my head, it is confidence to how I fish it. So if you've ever seen a small animal in the water, it is very rare they're moving without a purpose in open exposed area without cover and concealment. So when I'm working a frog off the bank, in between pads, in between open water pockets, I am slapping it or burning it quickly to get it to cover, and then I'll rest it on the edge of the grass or the edge of the pad, and generally when I stop that frog getting to cover is when it gets bit. Now, there are rare instances that I will work the frog slow in open water, and that's if I see forage being eaten, schools of bait getting pushed, or if the frog has been missed after a blow up, because I want to keep it in the strike zone and keep it loud so the fish can relocate the frog to strike. Look at that thing. The cadence I always teach everybody to use is kind of like a jerkbait cadence. Pop, pop, pause. Pop, 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 pause. Pop, pop, pause. But I don't leave big pauses in between. And obviously you're going to adjust your cadence based on the reaction you're getting from the fish. If you're working it slow and you're not getting bites, speed it up. If you start getting bit, you know that's your cadence, stick to it. We've dissected our fishery and we know what frog to fish where. We've located fish. We've gotten strikes. How do we execute? And this is the most argued topic in frog fishing. Is it the 3-second rule? or is it something else? Well, to me, I think the 3-second rule is a good rule of thumb, but it is not the answer. So with fishing a hollow body frog, to me, it is 90% visual. So I want bright frogs. The white frog versus black frog on sunny, cloudy day argument, to me, is valid in certain circumstances. But if you've ever been in a pool on a bright sunny day and looked up at anything, generally it's all a shadow. The sun is overcasting a shadow on whatever's on top of the water. So whether it be red or white or black or purple, it's going to be a dark hue in the sunlight. So for me, it's all about what I can see. If I'm bomb casting and get bit on a 20-yard, 30-yard cast, I'm gonna see it with a red frog. And what you need to be looking for is the frog still on the water after the strike? So whether it be white or red or whatever, when you get that blow up on your hollow body frog, look at the blow up. Try to look at the blow up. Is the frog still there? If the answer is no, you can do this technique here. There we go. So what I've done in that video is I'm obviously cruising down a bank line. I cast into some pads. I got a blow up. I could not visibly see the frog, so I depressed my button on my reel. I felt the line being pulled, meaning the fish had the frog in its mouth. I engaged my drag system and I hook set the fish. So what I'm saying is it's visual, but then the other 10% is feel. 90% visual, 10% feel for me. I know this is a long-winded video, but I really enjoy frogging. It is a very massive part of my game. Again, I'm not a professional by any means. I'm not. I have a lot of experience fishing a frog. I've been successful fishing a frog, and we design frogs based on those experiences. So I'm just trying to share the cadence and techniques from the comments I get in a lot of social media posts about hookup ratios, about the 3-second rule, how long do you wait for a hook set, you waited too long, that kind of deal. So just remember, if you're going to take anything out of this video, inspect your hooks, feel the frog body. If all that checks out, watch your lure. Be patient with it. If they blow up and miss, keep working the frog in the strike zone. If they hit it and you can't see the frog, make sure you are looking for tension on your line or line movement on the water. And most importantly, out of all of this, have fun and practice. Topwater blowups are some of the most fun reactions in the game. And in my opinion, it's one of the most fun techniques you could ever master when it comes to fishing. I hope you guys learned something from this video. Again, I'm not a professional by any means. I'm just a topwater enthusiast that really loves fishing a hollow body frog. If you guys got something though, hit the like, hit the sub, share it out, and drop a comment if you have any other questions you want answered, or for some content ideas that you guys want me to talk about. Get out there and practice fishing a frog. Get out there and practice these techniques. And I promise you, you'll get better with time. Rome wasn't built overnight, neither was a master topwater fisherman. So get out there, do the thing. I got a date with Hydrilla and pads, so I'll catch you on the next one.